Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user FWB Douche. I, 21 female, am friends with benefits with a guy, 30, who failed to tell me he was engaged the whole time. I want to tell his fiancé, but he has a violent history. I recently moved into a new apartment complex 3 months ago to finish up school, and within a few days I met my neighbor who lived downstairs. Initially, I had zero interest in him, but he quickly and aggressively pursued me, would always initiate texts. I never ever did, wanted to know all about me, and would invite me to his place for drinks. After about a week, I agreed to have drinks at his place. We chatted, he seemed a little flirtatious, but it was innocent enough. It all seemed harmless. I wasn't too thorough, but there was nothing in his apartment to indicate he had a significant other. Not many pictures, he slept in a single twin bed, etc. We become friends, I invite him to my place a few times, and things start to develop from there. Within a few weeks, he's sending me sexually suggestive texts. I have him over to hang out, anticipating something's gonna happen between us, and it does. We mess around on a weekly basis for another couple of weeks, then have sex. At this point, I'm sensing some shadiness and manipulation, nothing blatant, but something wasn't right, so I stopped talking to him for a few weeks. We run into one another one day, he says he misses me, acts genuinely confused as to why I cut ties and asks if he said something offensive. After some clarification, we continue our relationship as friends with benefits, but strictly under the condition that if I or he start dating or messing around with someone else, we let the other person know so we can discontinue. So basically, exclusive friends with benefits. We have sex another 5 or 6 times over the course of a month and exchanged pictures and video. One day, while I'm walking from the parking lot to the apartment entrance, he pulls in with a girl. I assume it's his sister or something, but when I wave and want to chat, I can visually see him get nervous and ignore me. Shady. I leave for school break and do a little snooping. Come to find he's been engaged this entire time, and their wedding will likely take place within the next few months. What the hell? I certainly feel taken advantage of by a manipulative, convicting doucheweed, but I feel far worse for her. She has no idea who he is. At this point, I'm prepared and feel compelled to tell her. She deserves to know, and if the situation were reversed, I want someone to tell me. This is not out of spite, jealousy, or vengeance. This is just the right thing to do. I know he'll never tell her, and if I do it now, she has ample time to make a decision about what she wants to do before the wedding. I could care less what she decides. That's not my business nor motive, but I really think she needs to know what's going on. I've done my detective work, obtained her cell phone number, gathered everything I'm going to show her. I have all our texts and pictures, and I'm ready. What's stopping me is that I ran a background check on him and he has a criminal history. 2 felonies for assault and a charge for breaking and entering. These are old charges, and his child and job relies on him maintaining a clean record, so I very much doubt he'd lay a finger on me. But if I'm the informant that delivers the bad news to his significant other, I can never be too sure how he'll react, especially considering he lives in my complex. So what do you suggest? How do I approach this situation safely? I was thinking of a take no crap attitude and a assload of mace. Am I crossing any lines by wanting to tell her? At this point, he has no idea that I know. Well, Opie, in my opinion, no, you are not crossing any lines by wanting to tell her. I agree with you. She deserves to know the truth. She must know that her fiancé or boyfriend or whatever is a cheating scumbag and make her reassess whether she wants to actually marry this guy or not. However, just like you, I would have reservations regarding your safety considering this guy's background. So this is a very difficult situation. Now, here's what I would do if I was in your shoes. I would go to your local police department, explain what's going on, and see what they recommend you do. Maybe you can set up some sort of report or something that you are going to do this and that this guy has a record, just so that if he so much as knocks on your door, you can call the police right away and they can handle it from there. I would think it's safe to assume that he is going to know it was you, so being anonymous about it is not going to help. because if you send the information to the girlfriend, she's gonna confront him with it, he's gonna see the messages and identify you right away. So again, I do believe that she needs to know, but I would also be concerned for your safety, so tread lightly. So what do you guys think OP should do? Should she say anything or not? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Salapeno says, it's going to hurt her, yes, but I think it would hurt more to get locked into a marriage with someone who will cheat on, lie to, and manipulate her. Personally, I would tell her, but perhaps speak to the police first and let them know that you have recently broken up with someone who has a history of violence, just so there's a record in case he does step out of line. And OP responds, agreed. This is also my line of thinking behind telling her. Can I open a case with the police before he makes any threats or anything transpires between us? I thought I had to have evidence that my life is in danger before I can approach the police, or is his criminal history evidence enough? Short version is this, says, I'm surprised that more comments aren't telling you to tell her. You're coming at it from the right angle. If he doesn't inflict violence upon you, he might do it upon her, and that's not right. I would send her the information and then be very careful around the apartment complex. Lock your doors, be on the phone with someone each time you enter or exit your apartment, etc. Be very careful and be prepared, but don't let the risk stop you from doing the right thing. Former Scumbag says, I'm all about exposing this douchebag for the sake of his fiancée. However, your safety is the most important thing. He's got a history of violence and he's clearly shady and awful for cheating and also having a double life. I'd say it would be a huge mistake to try and predict his behavior. You have to act on the side of caution in a big way. You mentioned that your lease is up in a month and you will be moving. I'd say that's the only time you're safe to tell her. It sucks to wait, but this situation is way too unpredictable and unsafe because of his proximity. It's way too easy for us in internet land to tell you to expose him. None of us is in your shoes though. Good luck. And OP responds, that's why I really wish I could grab a date for the wedding. For all I know, they could be married by then. I know it's happening soon, but nothing on her Facebook explicitly states when the wedding is. I'll try and find out. If it's in a later date or something, then I can wait to tell her. I have nothing to gain from this. This is all for her sake and my safety. But ultimately, I'd like to give her a heads up as soon as I can. Additional info from OP's comments. I have no interest in revenge. If I really wanted to get him, I'd be blackmailing him, calling him out, making an ass out of him, and then telling her what happened after I move out next month. I was certainly startled and upset when I discovered he was engaged, but nothing to elicit feelings of loathing and vengeance towards him. I want to help her if I can because I hope someone would do that for me, and I'd be damn well pissed if I were in her position and that person didn't tell me the man I was about to marry was unfaithful with them. Also, I didn't run the background check. A friend who I told this and works for the county courthouse was worried about potential consequences, so she ran it. I'm unsure of the specific charges, but he once told me he was in a gang when he was younger, the Sureños. I don't know much about gangs or the validity of that statement, but I'm calling BS at this point. He has no tattoos, looks whiter than me, and lives in an upscale apartment. My guess is he was just trying to come across as a hard ass. I'd prefer to anonymously send her every part of our correspondence via email. The texts and pictures are so specific that the minute she showed him, and I know she will, he'll trace it right back to me. I do believe the more preparation I have, the better. I must cover all my bases and have theoretical plans to mitigate anything he throws at me. The good thing is that all my friends and family support me in this endeavor, surprisingly, but they also know that I choose not to stand for this kind of stuff. I do have some advantages in this situation. Anything she could ever doubt, question, or dispute is in our texts. I am so thankful I'm lazy and chose not to delete that crap. How we met, him pursuing me, constant lying, and adamantly agreeing to be friends with benefits with no hesitation, it's all there. If I didn't have enough evidence, I'm not sure I would approach her, but I'm confident in what I have. I also have many places I can stay if things take a turn for the worse, and I'm rarely unpredictably at my apartment anyway. Alright, well that first commenter said basically everything I wanted to say, but in such a better way. And the other commenters were pretty sharp as well. Also, OP gave us a lot more context onto what's going on and how things went about. So now let's move on to the update to see what OP did and how this story ends. I took all of your advice into consideration and decided it would be best to not compromise my safety and wait until my lease was up and I moved out of my apartment into a new city to then tell her. So that's exactly what I did. Since I initially found out until I moved out a couple of days ago, I cut all contact with him. Over the past few weeks, he's sent me dozens of messages, many of which included meetup, booty calls, and sexts. Starting out innocent enough, but then getting accusatory. Why I was ignoring him? Did I know something he didn't? Was I going to move out without telling him? Had I already moved and lied, etc.? I responded to none, but he kept sending them. He was almost in a manic state. I was fortunate enough to never run into him physically during that time and just finished moving everything out of my apartment yesterday and handing in my keys. As I mentioned in my first post, I acquired her cell phone number via a mutual friend. Yesterday, I texted her from a friend's phone saying, "Hi, fiance's name. My name is," a fake name. "I have information involving you that I'd like to speak with you about. It's not an emergency, but it is important. So please call me at this number when you have a chance." She called 5 minutes later. I almost pooped myself. I was so nervous. Before I broke the news to her, I confirmed I did indeed have the right person, that she was engaged to my friends with benefits, and that she was in a private place where she could talk. When I first told her I had no idea my friends with benefits was her fiancé because he flat out lied, and that I had slept with him multiple times, she was defensive and skeptical, and rightfully so. She started asking very specific questions about him. Only someone close to him would know, and I was able to answer all of those questions in detail. I could tell by the tone of her voice when she started realizing the things I was telling her were true. Even so, she didn't seem that upset or shocked. She was very calm and composed and asked me to send any proof of this. I sent her screenshots of around 50 highly suggestive texts confirming what he had just discussed, as well as multiple photos and videos he'd sent me, from casual custom face shot to explicit photos and videos. Thanks for the penis pics, buddy. Who knew they'd be so handy? The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable, and I was lucky to have it. She called again after looking through the screenshots I sent her, and we spoke for an hour. I told her everything, that we would meet up on specific days at specific times, and she said that would make sense because she would be working on all those days and times. Everything lined up, and though she believed me, I wasn't quite sure what to make of her reaction. At first, I attributed it to shock, but during our conversation, she truly never seemed that upset or surprised. Towards the end, she became buddy-buddy and was even laughing a little. I must have gained some sort of amnesty from her, however, because she told me when she confronts him, she'll say she found out via a mutual friend and make no mention of me directly contacting her. She said she'll let me know how the confrontation goes, but that he's so good with his words and getting out of situations. It was almost like she was seeking advice from me at some points, but that wasn't my intention or my spot to give. I thanked her, but I felt bad enough being involved in the way that I was, that I appreciate the consideration, but that it's best I disappear and what happens between her and him remains between them. I made it clear I struggled with initially telling her, as I wasn't quite sure if it was my place, but ultimately decided on it. She responded with, "I truly appreciate you and for coming forward and telling me. We've been together 6 years and engaged for 1. This was the best thing you could have done." And that was that. And considering how horribly this could have all gone, for me, this turned out to be the best case scenario. I took the necessary precautions and informed my landlord not to give out my forwarding address. What happens next between them is not important to me, and I finally feel free from all of this. And it feels so good. I made this thread as an update, obviously. I know this was kind of a bizarre predicament, but if any of you find yourselves in a remotely similar situation, I implore you to reach out and make some effort to tell that other person. Some might think you are white knighting it or tattling on someone like a little bitch, but that is someone's life and future at stake, and to me, that kind of BS is intolerable. I also want to thank everyone who contributed advice on my last thread. I realize none of you will probably be reading an update that came 3 months later, but your advice was immensely helpful, and you're appreciated nonetheless. Well, OP, it worked out great for you. No threat, and you did what you had to do and wanted to do, so good for you. Hopefully, she does end the relationship, but like you say, that's a different story and it's between them. So on that note, OP, I wish you all the best in the future and thank you so much for sharing. Now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user Mr. Pepper. You want to cancel your reservation? Okay. About a decade ago, when I was fresh out of high school, I got a summer job working at a lakeside boat and rental and bait and tackle shop. My boss, Joe, not his real name, inherited the shop from his father and took a massive amount of pride in keeping the family business going. Still, he wasn't one to give in to BS and clearly took it personally when a customer complained about anything to do with the shop he loved so much. Our lake was a pretty popular trophy fishing destination due to how large the local Mackinaw trout got. Bossman wanted to reward people who planned ahead by never charging summer pricing, approximately $150 more per day on reservations. Naturally, this resulted in our boats getting booked out weeks in advance. The catch was we did require a completely refundable $100 security deposit. We said in case of damages, but was mostly to guarantee they returned the boat. Of course, every year, many people took issue with this policy. In 3 years, I saw this happen dozens of times. Boss had his malicious compliance down to an exact science. When a customer would refuse to pay the security deposit, Joe would state the deposit is non-negotiable. Almost always, the customer would then declare they're canceling their reservation, they'll never do business here again, and generally recite the whole Karen manifesto. Joe would cheerfully agree, feed their paperwork into the shredder, and send them off. You see, dear reader, of the 3 marinas on the lake, we were the only ones that rented out boats. The other 2 only rented out space for boats to dock. They'd never ask about our competitors, so Joe never had any reason to inform them. Without fail, within the hour, the customer would be back, having realized that they couldn't get a boat elsewhere. Usually at this point, business would be picking up, meaning I'd be loudly answering questions about boat rentals for other guests, and the customer's fishing buddies or antsy kids would be pushing them to get the boat already. Grudgingly, they'd ask for their boat. Joe would fake concern and tell them that unfortunately all the boats have been reserved for weeks, so we're usually unable to accommodate walk-in rental requests. As luck would have it, we had a cancellation earlier today. Since they don't have a reservation, however, we have to charge the summer holiday pricing. Oh, and just FYI, we require a completely refundable $100 security deposit for all rentals. I hope that's alright with you. OP's edit. Clarifying because it keeps coming up in the comments. Customers were notified of the deposit required when they made their reservation, but they didn't need to pay anything until the day of rental. We didn't require the deposit in advance to secure the reservation, but we'd only honor the reservation until noon if no payment had been received, which we also told them about. Well, lucky them that there was a cancellation prior that day. Thanks for sharing, OP. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.